Hey everyone, so hope you're doing well. I want to talk today about emotions, using emotions as information. And I've got my notes here. Uh, so, the reason why I wanted to bring up this topic is because I realized how much bottled up emotions can uh, affect us. So, I remember I used to bottle up my emotions, and now I'm very expressive with them. And when I used to, they would eventually come out over major or even minor situations, and the emotional release would be huge. People would say I either receive it as an overreaction or just like just very emotional reaction. So I always just thought that I was sensitive, um, when really I just had a lot of these emotions bottled up, just waiting to get out when the time when I allowed myself to. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about how it was like beforehand. So in that mindset of me bottling it up, I think I used to bottle it up because I was taught that my voice didn't matter when I was younger, because people who were older than me um, would overpower what I'd say anyway, or they would intimidate me to not speak up uh, about my feelings or what was right for me or what I felt was right or my truth or something like that. Um, so when I got older and went into relationships, um, I kind of just felt like unopinionated and um, didn't really have a good sense of my wants or needs. Was very much a people pleaser, and had no relationship really with my emotions. I didn't have a relationship with my anger. The biggest relationship I did have with my emotions was with my sadness, and even then, I still didn't really know what I was all sad about. And yeah, I remember there being like a lot of weight and tension in my body, and just like low self worth, low self esteem. And when people would ask me, like, how am I feeling, I would just be like, fine, or okay, or I'm good. And uh, would have a lot of attention focused on their feelings, like, oh, but how do you feel about this? And not necessarily know my own stance on things. So I was basically ignoring my emotions or stifling them. Um, Let me see. So this way of thinking used to get me into a lot of situations that I didn't particularly like being involved in, so the emotions would keep on happening. Yet I never said anything about them, so really I didn't even know that I was making um, that I was going so against my feelings, because again I was ignoring them. Yeah. Uh, so shifting perspectives. Um, when I began healing and learning how to communicate and identify my emotions, I grew a stronger relationship with them, and it started changing my decisions and just helping me learn more about myself. And so, in the past, when I would have an emotion, say sadness or something like that, I would get very self critical about it and just tell myself, like, um, even more sad things until eventually the wave just passed or something like that. And still didn't even really know what I all went through in that process, like what truly hurt. I didn't really question the event that took place to even get me to the sadness. And so as I started healing, I started to be more curious about my feelings and started labeling them. I would look at the sheet of paper that listed a few of these feelings, and just had a standard to go off of, and would see out of those feelings. Sometimes I would feel multiple things at once, and I would just see what I was all feeling, and got curious about it, and would question, okay, well, what happened to bring me to this moment of sadness or apathy or anger. And then when I started seeing that these certain things happened, and then I would get these feelings, I started seeing patterns, and then started getting curious about that pattern. Okay, well, is this coming from just one person? Do I have like relationships like this in general? Do I have systems like this in general? And what is the thought process behind the decisions that I was making? So now I make more aligned decisions with who I truly am, instead of emotional decisions that were based on this thought process of fear or lack mindset. I started enforcing boundaries this past year, and that process of even deciding which boundaries to enforce came from learning about my emotions. So say an instance would happen, especially, I had a lot of boundaries to enforce in romantic relationships. So for instance, okay, my time that I would go to sleep. So I went from being so available to the men that I was dating, to getting off of my phone after a certain time. So I think like 5:30 or something like that, just so that I could do my night routine and spend time with myself before bed, and not go to sleep thinking about anyone but like me and God, basically, and have just this good mindset to fall asleep in. Because from my past relationships, the last thought in my head would be about the guy that I was seeing. And like sometimes that can be a good thing, but in my case mostly it wasn't. I would either feel sad or just be like thinking about a conversation that we had, or a conversation that I want us to have, and it just wasn't a good mindset to be falling asleep to. And sometimes it would keep me restless, and I couldn't, I don't know, I felt a lot of tension and anxiety before bed. So I just decided that, okay, well, if I get off my phone after this amount of time, I can spend this time with myself and put myself in a good mindset before going to bed. So but I didn't notice that until I started paying more attention to my feelings, and I was journaling and realizing that I was going to bed anxious. And I observed that emotion and took that information in of, okay, I'm going to sleep anxious. Okay, why am I anxious? Oh, because I'm thinking about this person or this conversation. Okay, so instead of talking to this person and flowing with that feeling of anxiety, I just got curious about it and labeled what all I could and did what I could to not bring that emotion out of me. So I just decided that, okay, I can go to bed or get off the phone before bed. And I didn't necessarily communicate that to people. I just kind of just stopped going on my phone and answering messages. Or I would only go on my phone to like play some music or something for my routine, or I didn't even put it on do not disturb. I just didn't look at the messages. And that worked for me to go to bed with a good mood and without this overthinking, and then I would wake up in a good mood and my focus would still be on myself and all that. Um, so, yeah. Um, but the point is that if I didn't pay attention to that uncomfortable feeling and take in that information that it was trying to give to me, like, hey, maybe you should think more about your night routine, then I wouldn't have taken care of the problem, per se. Like, I could have talked to the person about it, but they can't really do anything about my emotion, and it's like on me to listen to what my body is telling me and my emotions are telling me and do what I can for my well-being. And this actually helped me grow respect for myself, and it helped other people respect my time as well, because now that they could only speak to me for a limited time, like a limited window of time, the conversations were more quality than quantity, and it's like I wasn't coming to them with all this resentment from me staying up at night and being cranky in the morning and all that stuff. I went to sleep in a good mood, so all they got back was a good mood from me. And then it just taught them to respect my time as well. I told them, like, they can text me all they want. Like, I probably won't respond. Like, if you text me something and I can see that it's an emergency, I'll be able to respond. But if it's not an emergency, don't really expect me to get back to you so soon. Yeah. And so another thing that I wanted to talk about was making decisions out of, well, like, basically my intuition, which I always want my intuition guiding me to do things that help me feel expanded and loved and just like this lightness feeling. And a lot of my past decisions were made off of emotions that made me feel constricted and small and contracting, or controlled in a sense. Like, it was fear-based instead of love-based. And identifying my emotions, spending time with my emotions, helped me make more aligned decisions that came out of love, and that would help me grow and feel more expansive. So let me see if I can think of an example. Okay, so at work, I let me see, because I'm thinking, yeah, so I'll just let you know about my experience. So I have been through a lot, and still I knew that I needed help, mental health help, and I kept on getting in trouble at work, and I was receiving a lot of resistance from my leadership at work, and I could have easily just fed into the negative emotions that I was feeling and agree with them and just listen to my leadership and all that, who weren't necessarily thinking of what the best thing and most expansive thing could be for me. But I had consulted my intuition on whether or not to follow their advice or to follow with what I was thinking for myself, which was to continue seeking mental health help. And they more so just wanted me to like focus on the job. They wanted me to get help, but not at the expense of what it was costing them in my in like how I was able to show up for them. So I just sat down and I just was feeling into, okay, if I go down this route that they want me to, how does that make me feel? And I just sat there and observed what emotions came up, and whether it was anger or sadness, and just this feeling of constriction within my body, this tightness and tension. And then I asked the next question of whether or not I should like continue pursuing this help that I'm not even sure is really available for me, but just keep on asking around for it. And I just had this feeling and this vision of me being like healed and light and healthy. So I stuck with it. No matter the pushback that I was getting, I just kept on going that route. Another decision that I had made too was whether or not to continue at my job. So I have the option to either continue working or to go to school and be out of the workforce for a year or so. And I had to just like sit there and ask myself, okay, do I want to continue in this job that with all these type of benefits, or do I want to continue pursuing my education? And even though I'm comfortable here and I know this and I know how it's going to play out and I know how I'm already doing here, like, do I want to go do that, continue doing it, or am I willing to step back and focus on education and be out of the workforce for a while and go into this unknown of supporting myself through school without working? And just I had to sit there and just think about which decision I wanted to make, and I had to pay attention to all the feelings that came up for each path that I laid out before me. And I ended up going with the school option because that is what made me feel like I could show up as myself and just be first off, I'd be growing and learning, which added to that expansion feeling. And it felt light. Even though I still felt nervous, it was more so like this excitement than it was this this constricting feeling that I was getting from that decision of continuing to just work and stay with what I knew. So let me see. So I want to hit on the fact that, or on the point of emotions not necessarily being obstacles. Because I could have just, with all the emotions that was coming up at work, I could have easily just stifled them, not paid attention to them, and continued at this job that I'd been with for years, and it was all I knew, and just continue to make out this path that I didn't necessarily align with anymore. And just make life harder for myself, basically, because I would have been, I don't want to say miserable, but I wasn't thriving, you know? So emotions, like, they don't have to be our worst enemies. Like, they can come up and they can be released. We can cry it out. We can explain them out. We can journal them out. We can, like, produce music out of it or something. But at the end of the day, I do want to just say that it's important to sit there and decipher what they're trying to tell you. Like, oh, this came up? Okay, what does that mean for me? With that, quality time, spending that quality time with myself and my emotions, I was able to foster more genuine relationships, more genuine interactions, a more aligned path in a sense, and continue to grow. And just the things that were no longer aligned to me, I got to truly identify, because those emotions rang up to let me know, like, girl, this ain't you anymore. You don't do this anymore. You don't like this anymore. And it's okay to change your mind if one day you like something and the next day you don't. Just so long as you're just checking in with yourself and how you feel and honoring that. So I don't know, that also just like enabled me to grow more self-trust and not have such an internal conflict about things, because it's like I got to get a true sense of who I was versus what society was telling me, or my job was telling me, or my family and friends were telling me. I got to know me and my own opinion. But yeah, I hope that you guys get to grow your own intuition and your own trust in yourselves, and use your emotions to learn more about you and what your wants and needs are, and learn to express them to yourself and then to others, and let the world fall into place with what aligns with you. But yeah, hope that helps. Bye.